Welcome folks. In this tutorial we are going to look at a dialysis machine and the questions associated with this machine. Now, under the human being, we have so many systems that works together to make sure that life is possible. Now, among those systems, we have this system that we call excretory system. So the excretory system brings the process of excretion. Now, excretion is the removal of waste products from the body of a living organism. Now, the organs that falls under this system are called the excretory organ. Among these, we have the kidney. So the kidney removes waste products such as urea, then uric acid, ammonia, excess water, excess salt, so just say etc. Now, what happens if the kidney is malfunctioning? So if the kidney is malfunctioning, we have the condition known as a kidney failure. So a kidney failure is when the kidney is not working properly. So now, since the kidney is not working properly, we need to find ways of helping such an individual to survive. So now, we have two methods of which we can help someone with a kidney failure. We can use a dialysis machine, or if the donor is available, we can use the kidney transplant. Right. Now, let's go back to our question. So question read, figure 4.0 shows the process involved is in using a dialysis machine by a patient suffering from kidney failure. Now, there are parts. Okay, before we look at the parts under the machine, first let's look at what happens. How is this machine connected? So we are able to see that it is connected to the arm. Now, the blood. So this machine, which is the dialysis machine, takes the patient's blood. Then the cleaning of that blood happens in this structure. Then after the blood is cleaned, the blood has to be returned to the patient. So the process by which the blood is taken, then is cleaned and returned to the patient is what we call the dialysis. So that is the dialysis. Now, apart from that, this dialysis machine has this thing called the structures, and they are known as dialysis tube. And the reason why they are called, they are there to increase the light surface area for diffusion of waste products, because the process by which the waste products are removed from the blood into the fluid is by the diffusion process. Then the fluid that is found in this machine is called dialysate. So if you encounter a term like this one, just know that this is a fluid found in this machine. Right. Then from there we have structure V, or part V. The part V, this is a pump, and apart from being a pump, it contains a fluid called the heparin. So say we have the heparin pump, then inside this container there is this heparin fluid. Then the function of this fluid, it is there to make sure that the blood does not clot. So we can say to prevent blood clotting, because if that happens, if the clot is made, or if the clot is made inside these tubes, then the blood will not be able to move, and we know that without the movement of blood, life is not possible. Then we have structure U. Then as we can see the arrow, structure U, this is now our machine. So we have the dialysis machine. Then what else? we also have structure T. So the structure T is known as bubble trap. So the bubble trap are there to remove gases to prevent airlock, right? Because if this happens, then we may have the malfunctioning of this machine, and if that happens also, then there is no need of a patient being connected to SAT. Now, if we go back, let's look at what are the factors, the most common factors that may cause a patient to have a kidney failure. So the first one is very high or low blood pressure. First one. Then the second one, we may have toxins such as alcohol. If alcohol is taken in excess, it may result in such, and also drugs. Then what else? Parasites such as bilharzia. So these are the common ones, but there are so many that may make the patient to have a kidney failure. Now the other thing about, we need to look at, if we look for 1 week, let's say for 1 week, at least how many sessions should a patient with such a condition should do, let's say visit the hospital, the clinic for, or should be connected to this machine. So according to my research and what I know is that at least 2 sessions per week. So 2 sessions per week at least, meaning if we say at least, then you can have as many as possible, but the least that you can do, have, or such person must have 2 sessions for that 1 week. Then apart from that, if let's just look at 1 session, how long does a session last? So the session lasts about 8 hours, and you can imagine if someone is connected, it has to stay connected to this machine for 8 hours. So this is one of the disadvantages, because it is time consuming. So if you have a day, meaning all the programs including work for that particular day must be pushed to a later date. So that's one of the negative impact of this. Then let's look at now the questions. So the first question, A1, which of the labeled parts VU and T is the dialysis machine? Right, so from we've labeled already, so it's part U. So this is our answer. Then which labeled parts VU and T removes gas bubbles to prevent airlock? So that is our T. Remember, it is a bubble trap. That is what does that, right? Now move on to question B. Suggest 2 reasons why both tubes to and from the dialysis machine are connected to the vein and not the artery. Now if you look at the nature of these blood vessels, we have 3 types of blood vessels. We have the veins, capillaries, and arteries. Now let's not focus on capillaries. Let's just look at the vein. So if you look at the nature of the vein plus the type of blood it carries, will help you why a machine is connected to this. Then the artery, the structure, then location of the artery, and also the materials, the blood, the materials found in the blood carried by an artery also assist you why that is not connected to an artery. So the first reason that we can give to this is that veins carry blood at low pressure. Meaning, if we look at our structure, we don't want blood to pass through at a faster speed, because if that happens, then not all the waste product will be removed since the speed is high. So we want to make sure that as the blood is moving, we want to make sure that it is moving at a slower speed, so that as it is passing through the machine, by the time the blood leaves machine, then at least a greater percentage of waste products are removed. So that is the first thing that we'll look at. We'll look at in terms of speed. So we'll say because veins carry blood at low pressure, right? Then the other thing is that most of the blood found in veins have high concentration of waste products compared to arteries. So we have to make sure that we connect to a vessel that has high concentration of the things that we want to get rid of. So say because the veins carry blood with high concentration of waste products. Right, we move on to question C. Explain how important nutrients like glucose, so glucose, amino acids, and salts are prevented from leaving blood in the dialysis machine, right? So let's go back to this. So remember, as blood is flowing through this tube, it contains the waste products, it contains glucose, it contains proteins, salts, water, and the rest. Now, there are substances that we don't want to be removed from the blood into the machine. So how do we prevent that from taking place? So now let's look at the concentration. So the first thing that should be done is they need to measure, for example, they need to measure the concentration of glucose, then amino acids, then also, let's say, salt. If the concentration of these, let's say, is 10%, then they have to make sure that the fluid, the dialysis, which is the dialysis fluid, must have 10% of these materials. Why? Because we know that whenever we have two regions with equal concentration, the process of diffusion will not take place. So that's a key point. So to summarize, we are saying they need to make sure that the concentration of the substances they don't want to be removed. So they have to make sure that that concentration in blood must be equal to the concentration of that in the dialysis machine. So say the concentration of glucose, amino acids, and salts in blood must be equal to the concentration of these materials in dialysis fluid to prevent diffusion. So according to science, diffusion cannot take place if the concentration of two regions are equal. Then we move on to question D. So question D, state two disadvantages of using a dialysis machine by patients with kidney failure. So we are like comparing this to a normal person. So the first one, like we said, it is time consuming. You can imagine you have to be connected for 8 hours. Then apart from that, it is expensive. A normal person shouldn't pay to urinate, but for this one you need to pay, so it is expensive. Then the other one is not all the waste products are removed. Right, then also there is that restriction of the food. There are foods that you are supposed to take for you to have a successful connection of this. Then if you look at question E, suggest one other method of treatment of kidney failure in patients. So we can use kidney transplant. So this is how we can answer questions like this. Now my advice is that as you are studying biology, don't stick to notes or whatever that you have in your books. Sometimes those notes may be insufficient. So the best way that you can do is, as you are studying or whatever that you are doing in line with your education with biology, make sure you research more, because there are questions that will come deeper than the information that you may have, and that may make you to fail to answer those questions. Now for those that want online tuitions, the best help that you can give yourself is to start as early as possible, because from that I will have enough time to help you to know where you need much of the attention, and also I'm going to take you at your own pace. So that's the best way to start as soon as possible, so that we avoid that thing of cramming. You know what cramming is? So you start under pressure so that you are able to cover what you are supposed to cover in a longer period of time. So if you have more questions about this, feel free to write in the comment section below. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.